Trucker Gamer here, and what I want to talk about today is the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that happened on April 2nd, but specifically the Mario Kart World game that was showed during the presentation of the Switch 2. And what I want to talk about is how many people were surprised that Nintendo went the direction that they did with Mario Kart World. For me, it seemed like it was the only way forward for Mario Kart to go. And to further explain that, Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U back on May 29th of 2014. So here we are in 2025 in April, and Mario Kart 8 was the only Mario Kart game released in that time. I mean, if you take away Mario Kart Tour for the smartphones, Mario Kart 8 was the definitive Mario Kart that the only one we've gotten within that time frame of 10 years. And it's been a very successful game. One of the most successful Mario Kart games probably that's ever existed. Something that lasted 10 years, or a game that lasts 10 years, in today's time is really, really impressive. So that cannot be understated. My thing is, I was not surprised at the fact that Mario Kart went open world because we are so used to driving on courses. We've been doing that for 10 years, and I feel like the average consumer would not want to play another Mario Kart game that we've been playing for the past 10 years. It's always been, your new tracks, and then your returning tracks, and they're remade, and that's always great. That's always great. But it was time for a change. It was definitely time for a much needed change. And I think a lot of people would not be satisfied playing the same Mario Kart format. So the format just had to be changed. Not that it would be bad, because people would always buy a Mario Kart game, but something new had to be on the horizon. And that new thing is an open world Mario Kart, and that is very exciting. And I think it had to be done because when you look at other games like Need for Speed, like Forza, those games are so broad. And when you just compare them to Mario Kart has always stuck in its own bubble of just driving on the designated courses. And in 2025, compared to 2014, in 2014 that was okay, but in 2025 nowadays, games are becoming so massive. They're expanding, and Mario Kart needed to expand. So people being so surprised by Mario Kart World being a thing was shocking to me, because this was the only way forward to go. It was going to happen eventually. If it didn't happen to be shown during this direct for this Mario Kart World, it would have happened for the next one. It's just a natural progression of not only video games, but for Mario Kart as a franchise. And I almost want to say that this is an expectation from Nintendo. Again, to route this back to my earlier statement, I don't think consumers would want to play the same Mario Kart game, because again, that game just lasted for so long and people were tired of it. The DLC that released for Mario Kart in packs saves Mario Kart 8. I mean, Mario Kart 8 was already a well-sold game, but the replayability that it added to Mario Kart 8 was just phenomenal. That was just a great part for Nintendo for doing that, because that just increased the longevity of an already amazing game. And not a lot of people do that. But Mario Kart has a special place for everyone. So for Nintendo to do that for Mario Kart 8 was just incredible. So, although I'm not surprised that Mario Kart went open world, I am very happy about it. Because it's just about time. So that's all I have to say about the open world aspect about Mario Kart 8. What I do want to talk about next is actually the pricing. I'm sorry, Mario Kart World. What I want to talk about is the pricing of Mario Kart World. So Mario Kart World is going to release for $80, and that is expensive. Games, I remember buying games for, at first, I believe $50, and then $60, and then it went to $70 recently, I believe around the time for the PS5, and now Nintendo, this is such a big deal, Nintendo made the choice to price a game at $80. and that is a major deal. But what I want to talk about is specifically honing that conversation to Mario Kart 8, because I have a take on it, and everyone should have their takes. So Mario Kart 8 is it's an old franchise. I believe that started in the early 90s, if I'm thinking correct. And since that time, Mario Kart has had very successful entries every single time. So if you speed that up from the Super Nintendo all the way up to now to the Switch 2, all the games that released in that time for Mario Kart were amazing titles. Mario Kart Super Circuit, the favorite Double Dash, 64, Mario Kart DS. All of those games hold so many memories for so many people. So you fast forward it now, and you get to the price point of $80. I want to say, my opinion is that it is worth $80. Now, I'm not just talking about games in general. I think the price point of an $80 game is it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. But when you hone that in on a Mario Kart game, you know, since the early 90s, 1992 all the way up to 2025, with Mario Kart specifically, you know what you're going to get from a Mario Kart game. You're going to get a lot of fun out of it. For a fact, that's just a fact. I haven't met one person that said I don't like Mario Kart, which is actually crazy to think about. I have not met a single person that says they do not like Mario Kart. So when it comes to Mario Kart 8 and the price point of $80, you already know the value that you're going to get. So although I don't agree with pricing $80 for most games, I do agree with $80 for Mario Kart, because you know what you're going to get out of it. And I feel like a lot of people maybe agree with that. I'm not too sure, but that's just the way I feel about it. It's a franchise that's very delicate, and it's a franchise that a lot of people love. And when Nintendo was talking about, you know, they want to price the games based off the value that they think that their games are worth, Mario Kart is worth that, because not a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I feel like a good amount of people are not willing to miss out on a new Mario Kart game because they just know how much fun it is. You know, you have people that go back and they talk about Mario Kart DS. They talk about Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. They talk about N64, and they still talk about Double Dash to this day. And I believe that game released back in 2002. Around that time, sorry if I'm incorrect, but it's around that time, and that just goes to show how successful and how fun Mario Kart is as a franchise. So when Nintendo says they want to price this game at $80 because they know the worth of this game, I believe them. I believe it's worth $80. Now, here is my concern with pricing Mario Kart at $80 and what other companies will take that as. Other companies will say, oh, Nintendo can go ahead and make their game for $80. Why can't we make a game for $80? Like, take for instance, this is a terrible example, but Grand Theft Auto, which will probably be $80 or $100 at this point. But let's take example for the average game releasing for $80. I don't believe the average game should release for $80 because not a lot of publishers finish their games, and not a lot of publishers release their games. When they release their games, they're either unfinished, they have a lot of bugs, and it's just not worth the price. So when Nintendo's saying that they price their game for $80, Nintendo is not really in the business of releasing their games and then updating them because their games were not ready to be published. Nintendo does not do that. I haven't really heard anything about Nintendo doing that to their customers. But when you look at a game like Cyberpunk that released back in 2020, I believe, that was such a big deal, and so many people got it, only to be let down because the game was a buggy mess during the time of its release, and people had to be refunded because that's how bad it was. And Mario Kart 8, most likely, 90%, I am so sure, will not have that problem. Mind you, I say 90% because we're dealing with new hardware. It's just going to be new, so we don't know anything really until the game comes out about, you know, any lag or bugs or anything that needs to be fixed on this new hardware. But There are so many games that have come out in recent years that released not ready. One of the most recent examples, Star Wars Outlaws, a game I own but have not even touched because of how much of a mess it is when it was released. It's fine now. It's been fixed and patched, but that's an issue. That's an issue for a lot of people and publishers releasing their games when they're not ready, and that's just not okay. And to go back to my earlier statement, Nintendo is really not in the business of selling you a product that is not ready. So when you hone that in on Mario Kart, with everything I just said, I believe I made some valid points of why Nintendo is releasing Mario Kart 8 for $80, because it is worth $80. When you have Mario Kart, I'm sorry, I said Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart World. Mario Kart 8 lasted so long, I'm sorry. But when Nintendo talks about the value of their game, I have to believe them, because Mario Kart, I know for me, has never missed. And I know for some people that I know, Mario Kart has just never missed. So missing out on a game because it's just $10 more than what you're expecting, it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it, because you're just gonna have fun, and that's what video games are meant to be, fun. And Nintendo is in the business of fun. They always have. I don't want the price point to discourage you, although you may not disagree with me, but just if you do disagree with me, just know that it's $10 more than the asking price of games they're used to buying for the past almost 7 or 8 years now. So I don't think that's much of a big ask coming from Nintendo to price it like that. Mind you, I'm not talking about the Switch 2 console itself, because that's another conversation, but I am just talking about Mario Kart World. I just want to be very, very clear and very specific. Mario Kart World, not the Switch 2 console. And I may not be remembering correctly, but the games in 2014, I believe, were releasing back then for about $60 or $50. And mind you, a decade has passed, more than a decade has passed since the release of Mario Kart 8. And when you think about the base price point, let's just price Mario Kart 8 at $50, right? It may have been $60, but let's price it at $50. Rewind to today. Would you say that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is worth $50? No. Would you say it's worth $100? Yeah, probably. You know why? Because that game lasted for 10 years, and so much content was released after that fact. So right there, when you compare the price point between what we got, Mario Kart 8 doubled in size, mind you, with the courses and the DLC. It doubled itself. So you got so much more than a $50 game. So when you compare that to Mario Kart World, I don't think $80 is so much of an issue, because if this game lasts as long as Mario Kart 8, $80 is not a lot to ask for, because you're probably going to end up spending so much more for DLC, because this game is an open world game. It's massive. And DLC is not uncommon. If DLC can release for a game that came out in 2014 and you can enjoy the content out of it, and it lasted a span of 10 years with that added content, imagine being taken away when Nintendo says they want to release this game for $80 and this is all you're going to get, because it's not all you're going to get. I'm pretty sure Nintendo wants this game to be as successful as Mario Kart 8. Who does not want the next game to be more successful than their predecessor? So when you look at an open world Mario Kart game, and you just imagine the kind of DLC that can release for an open world Mario Kart game, I would say it's probably, when it's all said and done, not now, because $80 is enough, it's probably going to be worth $150 when everything is said and done by the time Mario Kart World is over. Not that I'm looking forward to that anytime soon, but just to give you an idea of what happened with Mario Kart 8, and how long that lasted. And then you get a new Mario Kart that's open world, then you can virtually drive anywhere. The things that you can do, the DLC you can add on this new hardware with more memory. I believe the DLC that will inevitably release for this game will be breathtaking. It'll be breathtaking. the map that we have, the map that was shown for the Mario Kart World game, it's huge in itself. Imagine possibly adding another map or adding onto that map. I think it's just gonna happen. It's gonna happen naturally. I feel like with DLC, people, if this game lasts as long as Mario Kart 8, something will be added on to make, people will probably get bored eventually. I'm thinking of from a future perspective, you'll probably get bored of driving it on the same location, same places. So in order to keep you invested, like how Nintendo kept you invested in Mario Kart 8 with releasing more tracks, which is the only thing they could do in that game, if a player gets bored in Mario Kart World eventually in the next maybe seven years, the only thing Nintendo can naturally do is add on to make it more expansive, to make it bigger. So the potential with DLC alone it's going to be unimaginable. New karts, new riders, new tracks, adding on to the map, maybe adding things underwater. There's just things we just do not know. And the Mario Kart World Direct will shed some more light that we're all looking for in a few days from now on the 17th. So that's all I want to say now. I wanted to talk about the open worldness of Mario Kart 8 and why people were taken aback because it wasn't a surprise to me. I just wanted to share my thoughts and opinions as to why this wasn't news to me, like why this was only natural to me. And I wanted to talk about the pricing point of Mario Kart 8 because a lot of people were not really happy about that, but it's something I really had to kind of think about for just a little while and say, okay, it might be worth $80. I understand, because Mario Kart is such a beloved franchise. I mean, can you just not say that you do not want to play Mario Kart 8, the first Mario Kart to have an open world where you can drive anywhere? I do have a prediction before I go. I do have a prediction for Mario Kart World that you will be able to actually leave your cart. That's probably wishful thinking. I did make some predictions on the Switch 2 Direct, and I was right about some, like the GameCube Virtual Console. I got that down. But to be able to leave your cart in Mario Kart World, you would basically have two Mario games. You would have a Mario Kart game, and you would have a 3D Mario platformer. But that's just me being wishful. That's me hoping. Could be totally wrong, but it'll be great. And I think if they add that or show that, it would definitely be worth $80. It is my opinion that it is worth $80 already. But that's just one prediction that I would like to come true. Anyway, this is the Average Hardcore Gamer. Please like, please subscribe, comment down below if you must. And as usual, play well.